and welcome to Let's Talk. My name is Dr. Mike Mills, and I am so excited to share with you tonight. I'm going to be joined by one of my great friends, Optavia business partners, and an amazing mom and family physician, Dr. Sharon Flesher. Tonight's call is really about giving you a platform to be able to ask questions about all aspects of our metabolic health program, from the reset phase, where we're really resetting our metabolic health, into the refining phase, where we are optimizing our body composition and introducing all of our whole food nutrition options, and then the renewing process of how we can optimize our health throughout our life. I have been a practicing chiropractor for almost 25 years. It's crazy for me to say that, but next month will be 25 years. In 2010, I went back and got a postgraduate certification as a chiropractic wellness practitioner because I saw what was happening with the metabolic health of my patients, my family, my friends, my community. And I just wanted to be able to provide a lifestyle option for people. My certification was in nutrition, exercise science, and behavioral change. And fortunately for me, about 7 years ago, I was introduced to Optavia, and not only did it transform my life and my own personal health, my wife and her health, how we are able to impact our family, but it's given me the opportunity to now have a systematic approach where we can create predictable transformation in people's lives. Sharon has been a family practice physician for 29 years. And she is now in private practice, which is amazing. And I'm so excited for her in that. But, she has particularly focused on preventative medicine and patient education throughout her career. That has been a big part of it. She's been an Optavia, certified Optavia health coach for 13 years. And maybe most importantly, she's a mom of three, and she's a very active person. She loves to run. She loves rooting for her New York sports teams and just spending time with her family. So, Sharon, thanks for joining us tonight. We're honored to have you here with us. And I know in our conversation yesterday, as we were, thinking about how we could, provide value to people on their journey. We were talking about, there's going to be people here tonight that you may be on your first day. And if that's you, we would love you to just put a one in the chat for this is my first day, so we can celebrate you and the decision you've made to become optimally well. And there's some of you that might be on day a lot later than one. And we just want to make sure that all of you receive value from tonight. But part of the conversation we were having that I thought your perspective would be really valuable, Sharon, is that how do you see the role of a health coach in today's healthcare world?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. I love sharing a little bit about my experience both as a physician and as a coach. Um, it, there has never been a bigger need. I mean, it's almost 30 years now that we need health coaches to help people. A lot of times in the doctor's office, you get, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. I get now 45 minutes to an hour for a patient in my private practice, but you get the fear. You get the doctor saying, you got to go do this. They don't have time to tell you how to do it, or they give you an overview and they make it very general. They want to give you the quick fix so that you feel better, so that you're likely to return. And in reality, you go home and you go, I don't know what to do. Although you think you know what you want to do, right? I know what to do. I just need to go do it. But what the difference is in a health coach model is that we are your accountability partner. We are there to guide you and encourage you. We've been there. I've struggled with food addictions here and there. I've struggled with insomnia and sleeping pills. I've been in your shoes if you're on day one or day 10,000 because we've walked this journey together. So the coach is someone, it's not optional, it is a requirement for success. We are going to give you key tips and guidance and support through the navigating the challenges of life, because life gets lifey, right? We need to be able to learn the tools that Dr. A has set out for us and embrace them along the way and have those open discussions. If you wait 3 months to go back to your physician, what's going to change? That coach is going to challenge you. They're going to ask you some questions to make you think that you can be creative in your health as opposed to just reactionary and treating, your problems with, medications and the quick fix. I know quick fixes feel good and we want those wins, but in the long term, we're shifting focus. We're shifting focus into creating health and not just kind of putting a band-aid on things.
Mhm. Yeah, so powerful. So if you're here tonight, please start jumping into the chat and asking questions. I mean, any and all questions are relevant. So if you're sitting there and you have this question that's just been burning inside you and you would like to have some insight, I mean, that's what Sharon is here for. She wants to be able to offer her perspective as a physician with 29 years of experience on how what we do as Optavia coaches fits congruently right into what you're doing. And so, you know, Sharon, we have our randomized trial that was performed that shows that our initial phase, our metabolic reset phase, using our optimal 5-in-1 program, has been shown to target visceral fat with a 14% reduction in just 16 weeks. To preserve lean mass, 98% preservation of lean mass while protecting skeletal muscle, which is so important. And I know just the first question to get us rolling, as people are having an opportunity to plug their questions into the chat. Um, in that study, it was shown that we can improve insulin sensitivity, we can lower blood pressure, we can lower blood lipids, triglycerides. So I thought maybe from your perspective, what have you seen as far as lowering cholesterol or triglycerides with patients, and how does what we do relate to that?
Yeah, I actually had studied a little bit my patient population that were clients of mine as well as non-clients. And I've, in a small little study, not to mention our very large study, have seen the direct correlation between better nutrition and exercise, and of course, better sleep on our cholesterol levels, which in turn improve our risk for, so let me say, decrease our risk of cardiovascular disease, still the number one killer today. So when people may have heard about, metabolic syndrome or metabolic dysfunction. The problem is 9 out of 10 people have metabolic dysfunction. It's when one of those 5 areas are not in alignment with your health. When we tap into fat stores, when we control insulin, which is really the root of all of this evil in our body, we will start to decrease those numbers. And eventually, with exercise, we increase that good cholesterol. And we're literally letting the body heal itself. The body knows what it needs to do if we take care of it right. So, our science, our medical education that we have through Optavia and our nutritionists and from our directors, it all supports natural healing from within, and it literally reverses things like type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure. And the impact, not only is it on the metrics from the physician side of things when you do labs, but also how the patient is feeling. And when they start to feel good, as clients feel better, they're more likely to keep doing things that give them even more in life.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Um, I've been just kind of reading through the chat here, and I see some questions on amino acids. And one of those questions was, can you take too many amino acids? And then the other question was about taking amino acids every day or only if you work out.
Mhm.
And so I thought maybe it'd be great if you could share your
Yeah.
perspective.
First of all, I personally love the amino acids. I was like, supplements. I eat fine. No, game changer in my own personal health as well as those with my clients. The first question I would ask is, why are you not using amino acids? Maybe because you don't know what they are. And they are the precursor, the building blocks to protein. And we need protein to build our muscle. The more muscle we have, the longer we live, the healthier we are. So the recommendations for our program is to use amino acids every day, at least once a day in the morning, drinking it within 15 minutes of preparing. And then if you are going to exercise and there's a 4-hour window, you're going to do a second serving, because after exercise, you want to rebuild protein, right? We want to make sure that our muscle mass is healed during our workouts, that it gets kind of downplayed or gets broken down, the muscles, as we start to strength train. I don't know why anybody would want to think about overdosing on amino acids. You really can't overdose, but I would say you're probably just wasting your product, because we only need so much. If you had a third serving, it's not going to harm you. Along the lines of amino acids and protein, somebody did ask in the chat that I was reading that, can you have too much protein? You got to use that based in working with your health coach to decide what the right amount is of protein. But as long as you have healthy kidneys, so you have to always check with your personal physician on this or healthcare provider, you can have plenty of protein and not have side effects from that. So whether you're using amino acids to build muscle through building of protein, or you're ingesting a high protein diet, you are not going to damage your kidneys. Mike, you've had a
Uh,
lot of experience with amino
yeah,
acids as well as a bodybuilder.
yeah. They're an amazing product. And some questions about drinking them within 15 minutes, right? So the goal there is to consume the 3.5 grams of leucine in that shortened period of time, because that has been shown to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. And so muscle protein synthesis is something that's healthy for everyone. So if you're here and you're saying, well, I'm 75 years old and I'm not, lifting hefty weights in the gym, but you do want to get out of a chair. You do want to be able to get up off the floor. You do want to be able to go for walks or ride your bike or play with your grandchildren. That takes strength and that takes muscle. And the more that we can preserve muscle, as Sharon said, the more we can improve our quality of life and longevity. So, very good. So, one other question that I saw in here, Sharon, is associated with weight loss, there can be a hair loss associated with that, right? And some people can think that that is maybe relatively specific to Optavia, but in reality, it's any form of weight loss. But maybe you could share your perspective on that as a physician and how you guide your clients.
Yeah, I get this question a lot, and I've also lived it from just having, a stressful surgery with anesthesia. Literally, the hair just falls out in clumps, and you're panicked, right? That you're not going to have, your hair ever grow back. There's actually a condition. It's called telogen effluvium, if you want to know the fancy medical word. And it's basically a very temporary shutdown of those hair follicles that can be associated with a decrease in your caloric intake, come from hormonal shifts, any stress to the body. And it's really your body's way of protecting itself to take care of other things that it needs to at that time. And so think about hair loss being a sign that your body's actually changing and you're preserving your essential bodily functions to improve your health. It is not unique to our Optavia programs. It is any rapid um, weight loss process or, again, stressor to the body. What's nice about the Optavia program is that we have so much protein in our nutrition plans for everybody, and you're getting all of your daily vitamins and minerals that we actually will protect as much as we can of the hair you do have. And it is a temporary, albeit maybe painfully slow, it's a temporary impact that your body is protecting itself, and the hair will continue to regrow.
Yes,
Unless you're
wonderful.
Chris.
So, I'm going to switch back to the amino acids. We seem to be attracting a lot of questions here. So
Good.
the 15 minutes is from when you start consuming it, right? So you want to consume it within 15 minutes, right? So assuming that when you prepare it, you're going to start drinking it. But when you start drinking it, you want to consume that within 15 minutes. So, well, good. And I was just reading through some other
Questions.
questions
Yeah,
that were in
there's a lot
here.
of great questions in here.
Yeah, yeah. So is there any you want to field, Sharon, that you saw?
Uh, yeah, I'm scrolling as fast as I can. So somebody asked about cholesterol, that somebody wants to get off of their medication. We could never say to you, stop your medications without your doctor's approval. But as long as your numbers are coming down and your risks of anything else that can impact heart disease risks are also not there, having that conversation with your physician is really important. If you're improving your metabolic health, and there's, again, no other risks that you would have, say family history, genetics that play a role, it would be an open conversation. I've taken people off of cholesterol pills as a coach, and I am their provider. I've taken people off of insulin within days. I mean, talk about clinical results within days of people being on our program. I have been able to, again, as their primary provider, stop their medications. Somebody asked me earlier tonight a little bit about cholesterol in general, right? What can they do to lower cholesterol? Other than that, what our program provides, it's really high fiber foods. And this is live webinar. My dog's about to jump on my lap. I apologize. um, High fiber foods, and healthy fat servings, right? Things like your monounsaturated fats, exercise. There's a lot of things that we do naturally as part of our program that also are tools that your traditional primary care physician or your cardiologist, so be it, will advise you to lower cholesterol.
Yeah. There's a question about electrolytes in here, Sharon, and I know as coaches we all typically recommend those, but maybe you could give some insight on how you recommend electrolytes and why they would be valuable for somebody who is in their metabolic reset or in the refining and renewing phase where they're adding in more activity and things like that.
Yeah. So I find in first phases in our reset, we don't necessarily need electrolytes. Electrolytes are depleted during sweating, especially when we're exercising. And so whether you're running and swimming or doing heavy lifting or even moderate lifting, you would feel better when you replace your electrolytes. Those are things like your potassium and your calcium and magnesium for bodily function. And so I personally use them after long running, in addition to my amino acids. And it helps support kidney function. It helps promote our metabolic processes because of the depletion that happens normally. Are they a requirement? In my opinion, no. But if you are somebody who is doing a lot of outdoor work, especially in the summer months, and you're sweating a lot, they can be helpful to actually help prevent muscle cramps, and the aches and pains of post exercise.
Yeah. And that may be a good sign for people if they do start experiencing some muscle cramps or things like that. One of the effects of the metabolic reset 5-in-1 program is there is a bit of a diuretic effect of being in fat burn. So if increasing, if drinking minimally 64 ounces of water, times people are drinking somewhere between 64 ounces and half their body weight in ounces, that may be a significant increase in water intake for a lot of people, which may cause them to be going to the bathroom a lot more. And, they could be, giving off more electrolytes than they're replenishing, which could lead to some muscle cramping, or you might even feel maybe even some lightheadedness or something like that. Even a mild headache could be a sign of that. And so a 0 calorie, zero sugar, something that does not have artificial sweeteners in it would be a great choice just to replenish your electrolytes if you're experiencing something like that. And obviously speak with your coach about it. They're going to know your situation specifically and be able to help you. I did see a question that, I know this is a challenging question, Sharon, but I think it is something that happens where someone is responding, they're on program, they're doing well, um, they are seeing their blood work improve or change, and they're excited to maybe reduce a medication, but their physician is um, maybe not at a place or feels like that they're ready for that. obviously, we want everything to be done in the direction of a physician. We're not going to say just do whatever you want, right? So if somebody, we're not going to say that, right? That would be wise or prudent. But I've even personally had situations where maybe a client was improving, but their physician wasn't necessarily in support of what we were doing.
Mhm.
How would you guide somebody or direct somebody that's in that situation?
First of all, don't place blame on the system. The system is flawed. Physicians, they don't know what they don't know. Just like as brand new clients, we don't know what we don't know. I think the conversation that I've had with physicians and peer to peer, it's hard for even me to get through to them because they're very narrow focused or they haven't experienced it themselves. Maybe they can't believe it's possible. And medications protect you, right? We have old data. I think if it's obesity or an overweight disorder, diabetes, it is a chronic disease state and it requires structure. It requires support. It has steps in place. It needs multiple tools. As a physician in any specialty, it's not just one thing that we use to treat everybody. We need a bunch of modalities. If you have diabetes, you're seeing your primary doctor, maybe your heart doctor, you have to see your eye doctor, you may need to have your foot doctor, right? Multiple people who serve your whole body. Well, that's what we do in our program. We serve the body, we serve the mind, and we have a group of people like this call tonight, like your personal one on one coach. So, we have 50 years of data, physician driven data. We have safety. We have brand new research showing the data of, 17% more fat loss with a coach, right? Um, it's a collaborative approach when we work with other physicians. This is not a competition that the doctor can't help you at, excluding the health coach. We have to support the individual. The reason why we're in healthcare is to help people, and that conversation with your primary care provider or any specialist should be an understanding. We have a great simple one-page handout, right? They can get the science and they can understand the entire process. And I talk about Dr. A lot. I mean, he is one of the best healthcare professionals out there. Started a lot earlier than almost all of us here, not just in terms of Optavia. Obviously, he is our co-founder, but just in his experience of the intensive care units. And so I think if you really look at, we want to decrease the burden of disease in this country. The only way we can do that, and Dr. A's first mission way back when I first spoke to him that he's shared with us, is if there's a million physicians, then he wants a million health coaches. Imagine putting one of us in an office that can work one on one to support the individual, to give them the resources, to give them the tools. That's going to change the trajectory of the healthcare system.
Yeah, so powerful. And that is the mission, right? Um, I sometimes think we overcomplicate the process, but you said this earlier, Sharon, the body is designed to be self-healing and self-regulating. So really, what we're doing is providing the body with what it needs for sufficiency and removing anything that's interfering with it. So if we remove, and our nutrition could be interfering with it, stress could be interfering with it, lack of sleep could be interfering with it, lack of motion and mobility and skeletal muscle. So that's why the Habits Health System includes all six macro habits, right? We talk about nutrition a lot because it provides very fast, efficient results that address the areas that most of us are most concerned about. But the process of creating metabolic synchronization and overall metabolic health incorporates all six areas of the macro habits. And sometimes I think that can be overlooked as well. People don't realize that we are taking a full and holistic approach. One thing I wanted to address that was in the chat, and I saw multiple people saying this, and I have seen this happen myself, is that the when people start taking the amino acids, improvement in hair thickness and hair quality is a very common side effect of that, along with nails too, right? A lot of women, I personally noticed that the kind of the hardness or the strength of my nails improved when I started taking our amino acids. So, um, there's been some questions in here as well about additional supplementation, right? The all of our essential vitamins and minerals are in the fuel links. Is there any supplementation outside of that that you recommend, or is there any supplementation that people should be concerned about taking in addition to that?
So if someone is on the traditional 5-in-1 plan that we described, you don't need any additional vitamins or minerals. We have everything that you need in a daily in a daily program of the 5-in-1. Depends on where you are. If you're doing avid exercising, if you are intentionally building on another area of your health beyond in that refine and the renew. I've been a client for 13 plus years. I don't do a 5-in-1. I do all the other three components regularly, but my nutrition's different. I'm going to be taking additional calcium and vitamin D as a postmenopausal woman to help my bone health. Most people happen to lack vitamin D, especially in the Northeast, so taking a vitamin D supplement. There are some patients who ask me all the time about all of these one-off minerals and herbs that they talk about. It's really a case by case. There's no global you must take. Actually, Dr. A's Habits of Health book refers to a great set of safe supplements for long-term health benefit that I would still take you up with talking one-on-one with your health coach and your provider because of drug interactions. That can be beneficial, but from a 5-in-1 starting point, nothing is needed in extra. And then you got to decide what you supplement based on your gender, your exercise, and then where you are in the lifespan regarding longevity.
Yeah, that's so good. And it's Element 21 for those of you that would like to read about that. Dr. A talks about supplementation beyond the metabolic reset as we're moving into the refining and renewing phases of that. And do remember that I have seen that if people are taking additional supplementation, sometimes that could, if you're taking additional iron, maybe some people could have challenges with constipation, or if someone's taking an additional multivitamin, I've seen that create some GI distress or discomfort for people too. So you want to be aware of those things. Talk to your health coach. But thank you so much, Sharon. I know that we get all of these questions. It's why we do this every month, where we bring in health professionals and just keep showing up and keep stepping in and asking these questions. And we're going to continue to be able to share them with you. But what we hope that people gain from tonight is confidence in what they're doing, that you are part of a system and a program that was created for physicians, by physicians, that is designed to create the optimal health and well-being. Our studies show that we are reversing metabolic dysfunction and creating better quality of life. So, Dr. A's Conscious Leadership Forum is next Tuesday. So, not tomorrow, but the following Tuesday. He will be discussing your thoughts, your emotions, and keeping you healthy. What a powerful topic, right? One of Dr. A's most famous quotes is the number one cause of disease in the world is emotional mismanagement. And also, our next Let's Talk will be beyond the reset and metabolic synchronization. So make sure you step back in next week for that. Also, Let's Talk is on YouTube. It is on Spotify and podcasts. So make sure you plug into those and you use those resources. But Sharon, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us tonight. I know that just your insights benefited me in many ways, and I'm sure it did from everybody that was here. So thanks for joining us again tonight, guys. We look forward to seeing you for a new episode of Let's Talk next Monday night. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.